Another day in the hills, this time in Yorkshire, South Yorkshire to be precise, 166 kilometres on stage 3, a big loop through the Peak District from Sheffield to an uphill finish into Barnsley. Foul weather at kilometre 0, mist, gloom, and up they went out of Sheffield. No attacks sticking until Ben Swift on a descent managed to tease out Julian Alaphilippe. Ineos Grenadiers trying to recover from a setback the previous day, and 3 riders going clear, including Jake Stewart as well of Israel Premier Tech. They would eventually be joined by 2 others. The first categorised climb of the day was at Long Lane. Julian Alaphilippe creating mayhem behind, starting the day in 3rd place in the general classification, close to victory in the overall, putting Israel Premier Tech under pressure, as well as Emil Leipens, who tried to join him in the breakaway, but not for long. As they went over the Jawbone Hill climb, which was the next climb, Ben Swift came under enormous pressure to hold the wheel of the Frenchman. Julian Alaphilippe powered that group over the 2nd climb of the day, as the race continued to split behind under huge pressure from Israel Premier Tech, riding on the front to control the marauding Frenchman. The entire team virtually having to ride, including Simon Clark and Ethan Vernon, controlling things behind. Julian Alaphilippe then characteristically risky, but surviving a little scare there. 1 or 2 other riders, though, going down hard in wet, difficult conditions, including Louis Sutton, who you can see just on the right there, getting back on, the Great Britain rider, as well as a rider from Bahrain Victorious, as well as many others. The wind then up on the tops, blowing a gale, and the longer the afternoon went on, the stronger it got. Soudal Quickstep then trying to rip the race apart, having spotted that Stevie Williams was a little bit out of position. The only intermediate sprint of the day went the way not of Julian Alaphilippe in his hunt for bonus seconds, but instead it went to Jelte Krenzen of Q36.5. That spelt the end of the first breakaway of the day as the race rebooted in strong winds. And we waited for another group to establish itself. Soudal Quickstep constantly on the offensive. Callum Thornley as well in the blue jersey trying to get in a move. But one after the other, the groups came back together. Briefly, Remco Evenepoel was the wrong side of a split in the peloton in the winds. That too came back together again. Julian Alaphilippe once more launching an offensive. But it was Tobias Foss from Ineos Grenadiers who started to kick things off again, and eventually an 8-rider group got up the road and started to establish a lead, containing a real threat in the general classification. Louis Sutton of the Great Britain team, who'd gone down hard earlier, started the day just 31 seconds off the race lead in 7th place, which meant the Israel Premier Tech team had a lot of work to do to control things. But it was Nick Schultz who really made the difference close to the final, as he put pressure on the whole race, bringing everybody back to the breakaway, and in the process of dropping Remco Evenepoel on one of the uncategorised climbs on the approach to Barnsley. Israel Premier Tech gaining control bit by bit, and at the front of the race the 8-rider group began to splinter. Louis Sutton falling away and would eventually be swallowed up again as the riders, including Jonas Abrahamsson, tried to stay clear. Tobias Foss included, Gil Gelders as well from Soudal Quickstep. Another little crash then on approach to the final climb of the day, but riders springing to their feet and no real damage done at the back of the peloton, but a sign of stress and fatigue after a brutal attritional day of racing. And then the last climb of the day, Hound Hill. Jonas Abrahamsson from the 8-rider breakaway trying to stay clear, but Nick Schultz of Israel Premier Tech had brought the race back together again with 6 kilometres still to go. A 1.5 kilometre climb towards the top. Tom Pidcock attacked to try and attack the descent, taking Oscar Onley of DSM, the best young rider, the 2nd placed rider in the general classification with him, which forced Joe Blackmore to react to control things once again for the race leader in the green jersey, Stevie Williams. Pidcock continuing with his move, but ultimately in vain as he went over the top of the final King of the Mountains in 1st place. A group of some 20 or so riders, including Pidcock, who went the wrong way on the run into the final kilometre over a central reservation, bunny hopping his way back into the race. It was a steep finish to the stage 3. Marcus Hulgaard, the Norwegian champion, went very long. Stevie Williams well placed as well. Tom Pidcock also in the mix. Paul Magnier of Soudal Quickstep there, as well as Oscar Onley in the final selection. But it was Eduardo Zambanini of Bahrain Victorious who was very well placed going into the last couple of hundred metres. But Zambanini hit the front. Williams was able to counter. Paul Magnier from Soudal Quickstep, coming from a long way back, was finishing faster than anyone else, but Stevie Williams had already won the race effectively, springing an advance on the rest of the field. A little clash between Zambanini and Magnier for the minor placings, but the victory went to Stevie Williams, and a 10-second time bonus as well. Back-to-back wins for Stevie Williams, extending his lead in the general classification. A perfect result for the man in firm control of the Tour of Britain men, with the halfway point reached and 3 stages remaining. Stevie Williams has a strong grip on this field now. Big GC day, the big threat done, and his advantage over Oscar Onni now extended to 16 seconds, with Donovan in third at 41 seconds.